But I think the development of full artificial intelligence would spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest. Into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Monday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things we're not allowed to talk about? You know what they are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Got a doozy for you tonight. I was thinking in terms of all manner of things, because of course, you know the way this works. I'm not here to do the run-of-the-mill UFO show. No offense to those shows, but they are definitely run-of-the-mill UFO shows. And notice, by the way, most of those shows are more interested in who said what, and seem to be less interested in what these things, these mysterious things in the sky might be, which has always chapped my hide, which is why I haven't done a lot of listening to UFO podcasts in my time, because, well, indeed. But I was thinking tonight in terms of exactly that. And all the propaganda is out. Of course, David Grush, the individuals have surrounded him and, circling the wagon and keeping the skeptics, the dirty skeptics off. And there's just an unbelievable amount of drama that I don't even want to get into, because I really don't care. Like I always say about people and, having conversations. If you're doing it properly, you're talking about ideas and you're not talking about people. So I got some ideas for you tonight. But back to the propaganda real fast. I was noticing, kind of going through, just looking for some UFO information. And because a lot has changed in the last 6 months or, maybe a year, something to that effect. Because, things are afoot. Whistleblowers are afoot. Congress looking into these things. And what does it mean? Look, I don't know. As usual, no answers for me. But it did get me thinking in terms of not just UFO propaganda and how that might look. We're going to do a whole show on this, and so don't really take this as a premise tonight. It was just a thought that kind of spawned the idea. Is what does UFO propaganda look like when it's hot and heavy in a post-disclosure world, or quickly becoming a post-disclosure world? What does it look like, the UFO propaganda in an election cycle? And I think we're about to find out because, as you know, we were taken off of YouTube and, the election stuff is hot and heavy and everybody's like, yeah, vote, go vote. And it's like a year plus away, a year and a month or something. And so it's like, everybody has settled down. Everybody's settled down. But in the political terms there's a lot to think about, but I'm not even going to think about that tonight. Instead, I want to think about UFOs as what they might be. And I like to think of ideas, or at least engage my mind in ideas that really hasn't been tackled yet. It's hard to do because a lot of ideas have been thrown out regarding UFOs. They're time machines. They're us from the future. They're, in the Nope movie sort of thing. They're, sentient entities. They are, there's just so many things, right? Of course, the standard nuts and bolts extraterrestrial hypothesis. But then, of course, it gets even more weird with the multidimensional stuff. And then you get the breakaway civilizations and you get the ultra terrestrials, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, all those are fine and well. And I do enjoy considering those ideas. But it got me thinking in terms of how come these UFOs have been very, let's say, recently particularly quantified. And I'll explain what that means in just a moment. But they're narrowed down, and they seem to be like an old school will-o'-the-wisp or something to this effect, orbs or, that type of thing. And so I'll tell you where that came from recently. It's a new information from the government. Whatevs. I mean, come on. All the links from the description if you want to cheat and go read it. And of course, if you want to cheat and read up on what's on my mind tonight. But what is on my mind tonight is chaos theory, actual chaos theory. But of course, in terms of UFOs and looking at that and what it means, not just here on Earth, it's still one of those weird situations that we can't really fully quantify for. They say in chaos theory, a butterfly flaps its wings in North America, and in 6 months, as a result, there's a hurricane in China or something. And so it's complicated. It's a complicated system just here on the planet. But in that regard, I started thinking in terms of the larger scope of what this might mean in the actual chaos factor of something like a multi-dimensional or a string theory or a many worlds theory sort of situation. And if chaos theory can be sort of dimensional in that sense, or at least sort of chase those butterfly effects elsewhere, then it got me thinking in terms of, what are UFOs actually doing? Maybe they're so tuned into whatever's happening that there's a situation that we should talk about. In any case, wild ideas coming at you tonight. The drill. There's no truth here, just ideas, just conversations, just regular people talking to regular people about things. And that's really what this is. If you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. As Indiana Jones says, go down to the philosophy class down the hall. Or what did he say? I think he said philosophy, not the archaeology class. In any case, this isn't class at all. It's just people talking. But so that's what's on my mind tonight. Of course, this is the most interactive radio show in the known multiverse. And what I mean by that is I'm reading your comments in the chat, trying to incorporate them into the show as we go. And as a result, I would appreciate it very much if you keep the thoughtful chat coming, if you got ideas, because sometimes somebody will leave a comment in the first hour and it'll basically dominate the entire idea of what the show becomes. So keep that stuff coming. I'm trying to read all of it as we go and incorporate it. And there you go. The other things, of course, we are taking phone calls and doing it live as always, because that's the way it is. And that's the only way to do it, in my opinion, because if you're doing this in a vacuum, editing every human breath out and making it perfect, hey, there's a place for that and it's perfect. But dear God, like, what a boring way to produce a podcast. Let's talk to each other instead. How about that? So we're taking your phone calls. We're streaming in all the places you would expect, which is going to be YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. Of course, we're broadcasting live on digital radio. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. That's the Troubled Minds Radio Network. And you can find that, of course, at the direct on the website, troubledminds.org. It's going to be right on the top. It says listen live. You click it, you press play. Easy peasy as that. We're also, of course, taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. That's 702 957-1037. You can also find that and the Discord link at troubledminds.org, the official website. All the things you need. It's a one-stop shop for all the Troubled Minds shenanigans that go down. And go check that out. Go listen to the podcast. It's all there, the social media. If you want to at me, bro. And, anyway. So we were talking last night Now let's really get into it. Last night we were talking about the X-Files, and it inspired me a little bit to think in terms of what Fox Mulder might do, or what Fox Mulder might consider with the intuition that we were discussing last night. But I was like, okay, so what about a larger intuition in terms of this chaos factor? And what if there's a larger system that's so complex that it just boggles our mind in terms of, like we talk about the ball bouncing one way instead of the other way, or every single random effect that happens, a new universe is spinning off all the time. And so it's infinite universes on top of infinite universes. Well, where would UFOs fit into that realm? Because it seems like they would know a ton about quantum superposition. It seems like UFOs would know a ton about, the paranormal, whatever that means, the high strangeness, the woo. They would know pretty much all the things. You got to expect that maybe not all the things, but let's say a lot of things. And so where would they fit into a larger conversation there in terms of a, let's say, multi-worlds chaos factor? And that's what's on my mind tonight. Going to read some things here and get us going with some ideas. But I do want to point out that it started with a bunch of actual UFO propaganda. New York Post reports, here's what you need to know about your average UFO. I almost called this your average UFO tonight, or your basic UFO, but I didn't. And here's another one, how wealthy UFO fans helped fuel fringe beliefs, which is here. Let's do that. Another one, AARO, we didn't talk about this. The Department of Defense launches the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office website, which, was going around in the UFO circles a couple weeks back, because that's about how old this is. And then, of course, there's more, CNN's reporting that Pentagon launches a one-stop shop website for UFO information, on and on and on and on. Here's another one, secret memo about shooting down a UFO sent to Justin Trudeau in February becomes public, which we all know that was the balloon, the Chinese balloon or whatever they didn't tell us it was. I don't know. In any case, blah, blah, blah. Tons of UFO propaganda out there. I was a little bit surprised. Here's another one. This is from fairobserver.com, and it says UFO disclosure, the most significant law in human history. Huh. That's interesting. But anyway, let's get to the write-up. You get where this started tonight. I was like, wow, this is an awful lot of UFO propaganda. Let's think about what UFOs might actually be that nobody's actually considered yet. Here we go. The Department of Defense has released a new report detailing common traits of unidentified flying objects based on reported sightings from 1996 to the present day. Hey, where's my Project Blue Book? Anyway, the document compiled by the newly formed All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, analyzes key characteristics of UFOs spotted by military personnel, commercial pilots, and civilians over the past few decades. According to the AARO report, now this is important, this will be on the test at the end, guys, pay close attention right here. According to the AARO report, a majority of documented UFOs are described as spherical, glowing white orbs ranging in size from 3 to 13 feet in diameter. Their surfaces often appear translucent or metallic. These orb-shaped craft can remain stationary in midair or travel at extreme velocities up to 7,000 miles an hour, or twice the speed of sound. Notably, the objects produce no visible exhaust or discernible propulsion system, suggesting they employ advanced unconventional forms of propulsion. Okay, and that's from the government report recently, the AARO report. The report identifies certain global hotspots for UFO activity, with one of the most active being Japan. Didn't see that coming, did you? Numerous encounters have occurred near Japanese military and nuclear facilities, warranting further investigation. And just as part of this addendum in the article, in related news, speaking of UFO propaganda, does everybody know Aaron Rodgers is playing tonight as a quarterback for the New York Jets? Sports Bowl. Anyway, in related news, this is why I'm saying clickbait propaganda. NFL quarterback Aaron Rodgers recently spoke out about his own UFO sighting in 2005. While conversing with teammates in New Jersey, Rodgers spotted an oval-shaped craft darting across the sky at remarkable speed. The object allegedly had 5 glowing yellow lights and executed maneuvers exceeding known aircraft capabilities. Rodgers stated that the extraordinary encounter left him shook him all night long, and contemplating the possibilities of extraterrestrial technology and visitation. Okay, nice start. The AARO's publication, after we skip over the Aaron Rodgers bit, the AARO's publication signifies a shift toward transparency, wink, wink, according to the propaganda outlets, of course, surrounding the UFO phenomenon. As sightings persist, further data may help elucidate the origins and purposes behind these perplexing flying objects. The testimony of high-profile figures like Rodgers also adds credibility to the existence of UFOs operating near sensitive sites and civilian areas. Really, does anybody out there really give a crap what Aaron Rodgers thinks about UFOs? Just a kind of a question, just a thought experiment. I don't. Sorry, I don't. I throw the touchdowns, bro. Throw the touchdowns. And to dribble the ball. What was that thing? Whatever. In any case, I don't give a damn what celebrities say about anything, to be honest. Because, of course, they're using their celebrity as a way to influence you. They are influencers, the ultimate influencers. And it seems like they're more interested in influencing propaganda than anything else. Which, as you know, if you know anything about me, that pisses me off to no end. Let's go continue, shall we? Let's continue. The AARO's, let's see, blah, blah. The U.S. Department of Defense has launched a website, and this is where it gets really interesting, a website, for the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, to provide the public with information about unidentified anomalous phenomena. The website will share declassified photos, videos, and resolved UAP cases. Resolved. Yeah, they're doing a lot of that, aren't they? It will also include reporting trends, FAQs, and links to official reports and sources. In the future, a secure reporting tool will be added for government employees and contractors to make reports. The department aims to be transparent and regularly update the website with new information. Okay, now this is just sort of the UFO news rundown before we get super weird. I already gave you a taste of how super weird we're going to get tonight, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that all this stuff is currently in the news cycle. If you type UFO in any search engine, you will get all of these articles right in your face. Okay, that's important, notable, and let's continue, shall we? Meanwhile, in Canada, a recently declassified memo sent to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau outlines details surrounding a mysterious unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, sighted in the Yukon Territory earlier this year. Oh, the Yukon Territory. I hear it's nice this time of year. According to the memo, this was the 23rd confirmed UAP event reported across North America in early 2023 alone. Okay, it's happening. It's happening. The confidential document acknowledges uncertainty regarding the craft's origin, means of propulsion, and whether it could be attributed to any known nation state. Canadian authorities attempted to recover physical evidence from the UAP crash site to aid analysis, but harsh winter weather conditions ultimately forced them to abandon these efforts. Sure. This is the world we live in, and this is where we're expected to believe. But that's fine. Look, everything has an official story, and this is the official story. The harsh weather kept them from recovering the downed UFO. It seems legit, doesn't it? While American officials speculated the object may have been a weather balloon. Yeah, where have we heard that before? Speaking of UFO propaganda, the memo emphasizes Canada's intent to independently study any retrieved debris. There are concerns about potential disruption to indigenous hunters and trappers in a region where the UAP was spotted. Intriguingly, the memo draws comparisons to the famous 2004 UAP incident involving the U.S. Navy off the coast of California. Yes, that would be the gimbal, right? Or that would be the Tic Tac. I don't know. I can't keep them straight because they're all so boring and not notable. And where's my five? What are they? The five. What did Elizondo say? The 5 things. Observables. The 5 observables. I'm still waiting for 1 or 2 observables, but I guess we get 5. We get 5 in the propaganda aspect. In any case, as UAP interest intensifies following the U.S. government's 2021 intelligence report on the subject, and of course, whistleblower David Grush more recently, world leaders like Prime Minister Trudeau face growing pressure to disclose UAP encounters occurring within their sovereign airspace. Seems fine. The memo represents ongoing international efforts to collate UAP information and work towards scientific explanations of this mystifying phenomenon. Okay, so now this gets us to the weird part. Of course, now I got some questions for you in just a sec, but what might these UFOs be? They might be, and here's just like I started tonight, sort of just throwing out all the ideas, but the kitchen sink. They might be messengers from alternate dimensions, slithering through tears in the fabric of our understanding of reality itself. Or consider the notion that these airborne curiosities are time machines, a human hand reaching back from the far future, perhaps to tweak the course of events or simply observe the quaint struggles of their ancestors. How about the Earth as a galactic zoo? Well, these saucer-like objects darting across the sky could be the zookeeper's way of ensuring the human exhibition is in check without causing too much of a stir. These are old ideas. These are the type of things that UFO podcasts talk about. And, shout out to the UFO podcasts out there. I'm sure you're doing a great job. Let's continue, shall we? But let's not forget the cosmic and quantum scales. Picture UFOs as sentient AI probes, dispatched from distant star systems to learn the ways of Earth and its inhabitants. They could be operating on principles so deeply entwined with quantum mechanics that they might as well be ghosts in our three-dimensional world. Here one moment, gone the next, leaving not a trace nor an understanding. And while some theories border on the arcane, like the concept of UFOs as soul harvesters or conduits of divine will, they compel us to think beyond the mundane, which is what we do at Troubled Minds, of course. We're not merely looking at unidentified flying objects. We're peering into a kaleidoscope of possibilities that could be well shaping the very nature of our existence. Could well be shaping, sorry, I said that wrong. The enigma persists, and every sighting, every encounter adds but a single thread to its tapestry we are far from completing. Now, back to this. Back to the idea that's going to lead us into the larger conversation and a theory. A theory I had when I was thinking about this in terms of the larger scope of things. And I do this a lot because sometimes I can kind of do that zone out thing where it's like the daydream and you think about how everything might be out there. And then you throw it into that kaleidoscope or that blender and then just toss it up and then consider. And I was thinking about it in terms of the larger scheme, the larger scope, the many worlds theory, like I said earlier, and this chaos factor. And is it possible? Never mind, let me read it. Imagine a universe teetering on the edge of chaos, a cosmic dance where each dimension is a fragile layer in a grand multiverse. The stability we take for granted could be an illusion, maintained by devices so advanced they defy our understanding of physics and reality. Enter the concept of dimensional anchors, UFOs serving as the linchpins that hold our very dimension in place. These aren't just craft or crafts, they are cosmic stabilizers that prevent our reality from unraveling or colliding catastrophically with parallel universes. And we'll leave it there. That leads us right about to where we need to be. But the questions for you guys tonight. Do you like that idea? Do you think it makes some sense that the things we're seeing that dart in and out of reality as we expect them to be are, let's say, so non-human in scope that this type of idea that's so far out there might actually play? That's the first question, because this is a wild one. And like I said, I don't like to come and bring just a basic UFO theory, the nuts and bolts, and all the nonsense everybody else is talking about. I like to be a little different. I just do. And so, well, what do you think of the theory? Number one. Number two, what the hell is going on with this UFO propaganda and being out of control? How come we're getting Canadian reports? We're getting the most important UFO document in human history. They're laying it on thick here. What the hell's going on with this? Number three, we can talk about election cycles. Why not? Let's add to let's not do that. Let's do this instead. Question number three. What is your most bizarre and out there theory on what these damn things could be? Supposedly, we've been seeing these in the night skies with human eyes for thousands of years. And if that's the case, something like I'm suggesting or describing in terms of a multiversal chaos theory doesn't seem so ridiculous if you consider the idea that there needs to be some sort of universal anchors in place. Otherwise, it would be a cosmic, chaotic mess. I don't know, just an idea, just throwing it out there, just trying to consider what nobody's considered yet. And if I'm wrong, so be it. I'm always wrong. I don't really care. But I do care about ideas. And what do you know about these ideas? What's going on? Why so much propaganda? Is it possible these things are so far beyond the human realm of understanding that it's like I'm describing? Which means we are millions of years away from even understanding the most basic premise of what these things could be. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. Your calls and more when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we discuss chaos theory. Except not just chaos theory. Let's say chaos theory meets the many worlds theory, meets UFOs as anchors to the pillars of reality to keep the multiverse from unraveling. Why is it that we've seen these things in the skies, these lights in the skies for thousands of years with human eyes, and we barely have an idea of what they might be? Of course, there's the standard theories, like I said, and you know me, my standard theories, I like to mix ideas. I do mix my peas and carrots, and that's just the way I see the world. I think it's the way the world should work. We should look at things differently, and we should agree to disagree and all the rest of those things, because it's part of being alive, and it's part of learning things and growing and changing. But in this sense, it's all philosophy, because nobody really knows. I mean, some people think they know about the UFOs and what they are, and maybe they're right, but meaning that I think it's probably quite a bit more complicated than that. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What's up with the UFO propaganda? Why is it hot and heavy in the news cycles? Per usual, what's it going to look like leading up to the next year? And, of course, what about this chaos theory? What does chaos theory look like in a multiversal reality? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Joe in Florida. What's up, my man? You're on Trouble Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
Hey, not too bad. Not too bad tonight. Yeah, it is weird. It's seeing it in the news is like, it's becoming second nature. And I think what I mean by that is a lot of people are it's just passing in the news cycle. And I kind of think it's a psyop again to get reaction, to put it out there, and to say, maybe to justify, again, big budget, black ops, spending money, and doing things. Also, in an election cycle, there's so many other things going on that count towards our current nature right now, our current situation right now in this country, from budgets and from things that directly affect us that the general government doesn't want us to know. So if you could use any news, propaganda, or cannon fodder, I should say, fodder for the masses, that could be one way to look at it. Or, again, we've all been saying it, that we're being kind of led, I forget the word for it right now, but where religion was controlling the masses at one point in time, maybe this is going to be the new thing that unites or controls the masses. And, the soft disclosure and moving everybody along towards this has something to do with it. Or it could just be the news cycle that's 24 hours looking for anything that's gonna get hits. And shame on the news cycle in a way, I think, because maybe when you see the news, things should be factual, and until we actually have proof of something, it's all speculation. And maybe that's a psyop in itself. If we're just seeing these stories that really have no evidence behind them, who knows? And for most of the public, that could be bad, because people may believe all of that. And again, I say all of us here drinking baby juice, I don't think any of us leave with, like you say in the beginning, I don't have the answers. So that's a good thing.
It's a deferring truth is definitely one of those, kind of freeing aspects, like the culture wars and everything, especially the UFO culture war is just fast and furious and ugly. And, like if you don't believe what somebody tells you to believe, man, people go nuts. It's weird to me. It's like, hey, can't we just agree that nobody really knows? And if you did, you'd drag an alien by the ear and show us. I mean, I'm still waiting for Greer to do it. He keeps saying he can do it, but I ain't seen it yet. Have you seen it yet?
No, that's exactly it. And I'm glad you brought up his name because I forgot his name. But, you mentioned earlier in the introduction of how some of these articles may have been manipulated by people with money who were in these UFO camps who probably pushed some of this propaganda. And I know, not that I don't know for a fact, but I'm sure some of these clowns, I hate to say it like that, have to keep their paycheck coming. So they have to stay in the news, when the molten hell, Greer to me is a clown, and I'll tell you when he's a clown. I said it before in the show, was when he tried to do a UFO sighting off the coast of Florida on the East Coast. And there was later radar tracking of an airplane that was out there, more than likely dropping flares. And you do that once, you lose credibility. So it could be these guys trying to push their propaganda, their book, their this, their that. I mean, let's face it, okay? I don't listen to, to Coast to Coast much, really. I haven't listened to him in years. And it seems like every time you have somebody on there, they're pushing some kind of book, snake oil, whatever. Okay? At least here, you've got a couple of authors. They're not pushing. They're just like, hey, read my book. You get a chance, read it. You're not paying anybody anything. We're just out here to share unmodified information for no personal wealth or gain. I hope you make something out of this. It's, we're all here for that. But you understand what I'm saying. A lot of these people are in the commercial business. And in the end, again, it comes back to maybe when something does land, we're not going to know what the truth is. Okay? And I'll give you an example of that. Jesus, by definition, was an alien. Jesus in the book was peaceful. If Jesus really existed and Jesus came down today, they would have you believe that he's supposed to come with an AK, that he would come weaponized. I should put it like that. That's what they would have you believe. So that story's already been twisted a billion times over. And we're taking sightings, simple sightings. Hey, I saw something. Or, hey, this happened to me. Some people we know probably got abducted. But look how twisted that is. So who, in the end, do we believe about anything?
Yeah, it's always back to that sort of, they're manipulating our consciousness somehow. And even in that aspect of what that means, they could fool us into a lot of things. And so, look, I'm open to all of that being real, but I'm also open to all that being phony and some sort of manipulated aspect of what reality is or isn't, as we always talk about here. And so that's part of it. Like, we're always struggling with our mind as people to really just understand reality itself. So, once you start mixing in sort of these other elements, things get super weird, which is why I like to get weird on this show. As you know, like, we could do the same stuff over and over and over again, but it's more interesting to me to kind of come up with some interesting novel ideas that nobody's thought of, nobody's talking about. It's what keeps my brain moving anyway. I cringe to think of what this will be like in 5 years, but I'm going to keep doing it. Well, so we'll see.
No, but and then getting back to, like, what else could they be? I always, I'd love for them to be the classic saucer and all of those things. But more and more we see balls of light, we see globs, we see things moving around. And you made a good mention in the introduction again about, like, a ghost. And, if you start to think that we don't really know where consciousness comes from, so if you start to look at us as avatars with whatever consciousness is experiencing itself on this particular planet, it may be across the universe. Maybe you start to wonder, if you look at things that way, maybe those things that we have been seeing in the sky are keeping an eye on our reality. Maybe they're disembodied. Maybe it is a conscious life form that's higher that doesn't have a physical reality. And it is checking on things. And it's saying, hey, they fired up CERN, or hey, they dropped another nuke. It's a fun thing to kind of think about, you know. But we don't really know how it affects reality. If we just see them, if they're actually modifying or changing things, we know that supposedly they've shut down nuclear weapons, all of these things. And then when I think of chaos theory, when you say that, I always think of, I always say this with a lot of sci-fi, but the thing that I remember is the movie, because I didn't read the book, but Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And you have the Vogon, which, like everything in triplicate, they're very government-run, you know, red tape, bureaucratic. They're very bureaucratic and slow, and they destroy the earth, you know, and then just to put a highway through, and we're squashed like bugs, you know, and how that could be chaos. I guess how that was chaos for the person that was on the planet, you know, for the main character. And there's order and chaos, and that's always the thing. So if the universe is constantly possibly spinning into chaos, maybe these things that we're seeing are trying to keep that from getting too crazy and maybe nudging things along. I don't know.
So you do like the theory.
The reality theory that at some point in time there's chaos. You know, if everything started in chaos, if time is infinite, at some point down the line, the chaos will coalesce, and probability or statistics and math or whatever would say, here's a planet that could fit here, you know, that could fit life, and here's another planet that could fit life, and here's another planet that could fit life.
Yeah. Okay. And you're right there. So, and the question here is, I'm calling this a dimensional anchor for that exact reason. So what if this sort of fleeting in and out of reality type of situations we're seeing is not some just dimensional, you know, let's say fourth or fifth or sixth dimensional entity, not the fourth dimension is time, you know, the actual fourth dimension. And what if it's larger than that? And so there's a lot of ways to look at this in terms of like the time cops, this type of stuff, right? Like Philip K. Dick, the Adjustment Bureau, or again, Loki from the MCU and the Time Variance Authority, like kind of this type of stuff, like entities that are so advanced that the only way that we can sort of recognize and interact with them is if they fool us into believing that they're human or human-like, because otherwise they would be so massive in literally every single way that they would be like the old ones, and maybe we'd go insane when we sort of laid eyes on them. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, and when you say that the old ones, I mean, think about the Bible. Think about what Ezekiel saw. Think about angels that were described like old ones with, you know, eyes all over the place and different heads and chimeras. How shy is that of Cthulhu and the old ones? Having something, you know, having a half lion, half griffin, things like that. Those were drawn, you know, and in the Bible, again, you look at Ezekiel's wheel, all of those things. And you're right. I mean, I start to think of the Ori in Stargate, things that exist in another dimension or things that exist actually outside of time. You know, angels and demons. If you look at, I haven't finished Good Omens 2, but Good Omens 1 and Good Omens 2, basically, the angels exist in heaven, but they almost exist out of time, and they come down, and the devil, you know, lives downstairs, and he comes out of time, and we're just trading names for these things. You know, we just trade names for these things throughout time. So, you know, but are they manipulating things? But to what end? For what reason? Maybe it's because at some point in time, those things know that they have to make. Maybe those things know what they have to do a tour of duty here. So in other words, we die, and maybe we're the ones that are coming to be the Adjustment Bureau and visit. We don't know, right? We don't know. We don't know if we die and we reincarnate, if we reincarnate here, or if we learn our lessons and reincarnate on another planet, or if we get off the wheel and we stay where we're supposed to be. And maybe if we get off the wheel and stay where we're supposed to be, maybe we're the ones that are flying around, keeping an eye on things. You know, and again, maybe the ones that are flying around are going, oh man, they're going to wipe my memory and I'm going to have to do a tour of duty here. And we got to make sure that they don't screw this place up, and we need to clean up these chemtrails and stop these nukes. You know?
Yeah, definitely. So
I don't know.
So Jacob says in the chat, you're going to like this. Monday is like the epitome of chaos props, probably more than any other day in the week, at least from my opinion. So what does Monday look like? Like you kind of just described that in terms of the aliens, like when they get written up, or there's like a TPS report or some sort of a larger aspect of the reality of they're just trying to hold everything together in this universal chaos of madness, and then maybe they overassign them and things are falling off their plate. What does Monday look like in that aspect to the UFOs, my friend?
That's true. I mean, it's great, because I'll tell you what, I came into work today, and I think we've said it. I know I've said it, and I think we've said it on the show, but since last week, I have had communications breakdowns. And in my job, I have to be a good communicator. And I know that I've been a good communicator. But I've had every family that's come in the last 2 weeks, and, it kind of runs in spurts. And, either you talk to them or they have some kind of difficulty, or you tell them I'm going to book you a clergy, and then they book their own clergy. Now you have two clergy, communication. And that's just a little snippet of these cycles that we go through, and maybe these things monitor that. I don't know. And you get into Schumann resonance and things like that. But for sure, I will tell you in a personal experience, I've seen things just by looking up, in general, seeing things. When I look up, I'm like, hey, I hope I see something. That'd be kind of cool. And sure as heck, I've seen things. But there's been more than one occasion that I've had high levels of emotional distress with deaths in the family and things like that. And I've literally been outside and I look up, and whether it's a shooting star or there's something flashing out, I have seen stuff, which makes me start to say that something's out there listening. Now, whether it's your own personal guardian angel or it's something that pierces the veil because emotionally, from your heart, you're screaming. I have to keep my feelings in with the job that I do, and I had a rough day today. I wonder that too, because I don't know how many people out here that are listening have had, whether it's paranormal, whether they're in their house, maybe James could allude on this, that people are going through some distress or something, and they're not taking pills or anything. They're just like emotionally tired, and something's happened, and whether they get a sign from their loved one, right, which I've told you in the past, we've seen that in the funeral home, or they look up in the sky and they see something out in the sky. I've had that. And so part of me believes that as above, so below, we've said before, so maybe some of these things are keeping an eye on us, and not just keeping an eye on us, maybe feeling what we're going through.
Yeah, well, maybe it's like I said, maybe it's even higher than that. So we talk about fractals and dimensional entities and things like this, but what if that many world theory is so far beyond what we can even conceive of, sort of just structurally, that the human mind cannot perceive what that looks like, because clearly it's outside of the realm of even if you could imagine a fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional space, how those things come together. There's still many layers beyond that, assuming that type of stuff exists. So what if that they are part and parcel of sort of the multiverse? And that's why let's say maybe, and the theory was this when I was thinking about it tonight and kind of brought it about, is that what if these UFOs are these dimensional anchors? And so not only do we see UFOs, but every other dimension also sees UFOs and is struggling to kind of put a finger on what they are, because they're sort of the backbone of the multiverse. You know what I mean? Something to that effect. That makes a lot of sense to me. But again, I'm just a human mind and grasping for new ideas. So what the hell do I know?
So let me ask you something. what was the name of the last guy? That Gorish thing. There was an interview,
Grush.
and I only caught the butt end of it. I guess there was another guy there. There was a few people there that were like witnesses. And there was a gentleman on audio that said, hey, in the 60s, I was tasked with videotaping these rockets going up. And when one of these rockets were going up, I saw a saucer go up and hit the warhead with a light beam, and the warhead tumbled out of the sky. And I heard this, and I don't know if it was a Gorish testimony or later on, but that's the way it was presented when I saw the article. I should have saved it. I don't even know. It was probably like a Facebook post really quickly. But this week, another video came up of a guy being spoken to. I forget his name. Some people got his name. And the guy was saying the same exact thing, so it must be the same exact guy. And there was a video, but the video looks like it could be fake, but it was a warhead. And the warhead got hit by a couple of beams, and it tumbled out of the sky. Now, whether the video was fake or not, we know that we've discussed this before, that similar things have happened at missile silos across the country, maybe across the world. Excuse me. And then there's a video of one of those SpaceX rockets launching, and it looks like something went through the rocket when it exploded on the pad. You could look at that. There's a video for that. So when you say anchors to the universe, yeah, maybe they have to come down here and say, look, you guys can't be doing this. You guys just can't be doing this, because if it affects here, it's going to affect the chain of things in the multiverse. I mean, you're talking the power of splitting the atom. Right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Go ahead, sorry. Go ahead.
We know what it does, but do we really know what it does? And we suspect that after the bomb got dropped, that more of these things started showing up. Maybe they come from underground, the moon, another dimension. Go check on those druggy, messed up people on the surface, go see what's going on, But do we really know? I mean, aside from CERN exploding, from CERN smashing things together to exploding the atom, we don't know if exploding the atom affected other things, And this goes into the TV show Fringe. Fringe was really good about the multiverse, doing all of that stuff. But it's interesting. But anyway, I've rambled enough. Let's let somebody else get on, because I'm boring everybody right now.
No, yeah, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. That's the point. That's the point of this. To kind of like you're going to say something that's going to inspire somebody else to think of something, and it's okay. That's why we do this, man. Like I ramble my ass off too, embarrassingly sometimes. So you're completely fine and not rambling at all, and I appreciate the call. But meaning that there's a larger aspect to this. That wouldn't surprise you if sort of these fleeting, what I'm calling these, dimensional anchors are maybe ubiquitous in terms of every reality. I mean, that makes a bunch of sense to me in terms of sort of stapling it all together,
Well, what amazes me is that we are born with this, hopefully everybody's born with this innate need to want to believe, maybe not in a religion, but this curiosity and things. And I always have this, we've said it on the show, but I always feel like there's just something underneath the veil. And maybe this is part of it. If you look at the Big Bang Theory, again, if it just didn't spit this out and spit out a multiverse, we're all experiencing things. If you look at Scott Adams, who's fallen from grace, but that book, God's Debris, that I bring up, if you were omnipotent and bored, what would you do? You'd blow yourself up, and you would try to live every possibility in every universe that you could, so you call us back. And maybe these anchors are created as a guideline to keep, to keep it from getting crazy, to make sure that everything's kind of moving the way it's supposed to move, not getting lost. Maybe, hey, they need to figure out fire. Let's go help them out. Hey, they need to figure out society. Let's go help them out. Prime directive, but maybe not so much. Maybe a little genetic experiment. I don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. It's anybody's guess. So the thing that, I'm hoping doesn't happen is, like I said in the chat, if we step out of line, I hope we don't all get butt probed without anesthesia, because that's going to be bad.
You're the best. you can't talk to aliens without making them one of the butt jokes. You're the best. I appreciate it, Joe. Thanks for hanging in. And like I said, this is about ideas and theories, so you're totally in the right place. Don't feel weird. Night Stalker does it too. He's like, oh, I'm rambling. No, you're spitting gold. You're spitting gold. I appreciate the call, Joe.
Everybody sleep facing up. Don't sleep with your face in the pillow, because you might get it from an alien. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Have a great one. That's Joe in Florida. Appreciate it, my man. Thanks for the call. And again, look, the reason for that type of stuff is because we have to laugh at ourselves a little bit sometimes. And what do you guys think? Like I said, I'm going deep tonight. We're talking chaos theory and how it fits in sort of a multi-dimensional space. Is it possible that UFOs are some sort of dimensional anchor holding everything together as, I don't know, staples that punch through everything, and every dimension gets a glimpse of them? Just a theory. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere. We got James in Michigan and your calls as well. Be right back. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
All right, so
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're going way out there. What's your wildest idea regarding UFOs? Let me tell you mine, at least in the moment. What if UFOs are carefully managing multiple realities and their task is incredibly complex in a chaos theory version of the multiverse? Now, chaos theory, we've said this a lot on this show, but is the idea that one tiny thing can cause a ripple effect that will spin out of control and grow larger and larger, and in a different part of, let's say, the world. Again, I just think in terms of a butterfly flapping their wings in one part of the world causes 6 months later or 2 years later, something to that effect, a hurricane somewhere else in the world, okay? Now, whatever that means, chaos theory is still one of those things with these massive systems that we just can't put our thumb on and quantify because it's just too big. It's just too big. And we're talking about the Earth, okay? We're talking about the Earth itself. And when this gets larger, let's say, so let's just take it a couple steps further out so you can follow me here on my wild and weird journey. So if chaos theory on the planet Earth is so complex that we really barely understand its effects, okay? It's a thing, but what does it mean and how do you actually manipulate the idea itself? Well, we can't. And imagine if it goes larger. What if there's a solar system chaos theory as part of that? One thing happens, there's ripple effects, a million years down the line, I don't know, everything blows up. Or everything becomes a Shangri-La, Kumbaya, post-scarcity future. Who knows? Like I said, you got to add some fun stuff in there too. But I don't know. I think when you take it even a step larger and talk about sort of galactic chaos theory, that looks like something we can probably never comprehend. That's God level stuff. That's the biggest brain ever doing all the biggest brain stuff and us just trying to catch up conceptually on what that even means. But that's just within our universe, within this galaxy. Well, of course, take that to a universal scale. And then what about beyond that, the many worlds theory? And you mix chaos theory. And I had this idea about UFOs being some sort of dimensional anchor in that sense. Like maybe they're doing the work of Atlas. Maybe they're holding up the world itself and trying to keep reality from unraveling. And they're busy. They don't have time for us. Maybe they stop once in a while and troll us like a trickster spirit of old or something to that effect. But what if they're just incredibly busy, like the Time Variance Authority, or like that's from the Loki MCU, or the Adjustment Bureau from the Philip K. Dick cosmologies, which he said were very real, by the way. He thought he was channeling other realities. So I don't know. Those types of things, if they were actually in effect, would we see them as these sort of flickers? And I want to point this out. Let's reframe here, and we'll go to James. Thanks for being patient, James. According to the AARO report, this is a UFO government organization. A majority of documented UFOs are described as spherical, glowing white orbs ranging in size from 3 to 13 feet in diameter. Their surfaces often appear translucent or metallic. These orb-shaped craft can remain stationary in midair or travel at extreme velocities up to 7,000 miles per hour, or twice the speed of sound. Notably, the objects produce no visible exhaust or discernible propulsion system, suggesting they employ advanced unconventional forms of propulsion. Okay, so if they kind of have a little bit of a rubric here and an idea of what these things look like in a general sense, this seems quite a bit like will-o'-the-wisps. Nature spirits. This seems like all kinds of things we always talk about on this show. But my premise tonight is I'm saying, what if it's quite a bit larger than that? And these are some sort of dimensional anchors holding multiple realities together like cosmic staples, punching through dimensions. And we're just catching fleeting glimpses of them and spooking ourselves because that's what humans do. Just an idea. I don't really know, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to James in Michigan. Salcedo Paranormal, what's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? And go right ahead. Let me get the echo. Oh, it's good. We're good. Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. You sound great.
Good. So first thing I want to do, also a great call from Joe. I did want to respond to his question, if that's okay, real quick, regarding sort of signs and things like that. And I think it can tie into this topic as well.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Go right ahead.
Okay. The answer is I have heard similar stories of people going through any number of situations, emotional stress, just any kind of sort of stressful situation, even negative situations, getting signs. And the amazing thing about these signs is they vary so much. They can be UFOs in more recent reports. They can be just lights, just orbs. And those can be seen near the ground or in the air, in the sky. So again, sort of a UFO in a way. They can be animals that maybe were animals that loved ones that had passed on were fond of. So different kinds of birds, just any kind of animal that maybe someone that you were close to really liked a lot. And then after they pass, and it can happen over and over again in some cases, that animal will show up in an area near you maybe even closer to you than they would normally get, and not do anything except for just stay there for a little bit and maybe look at you and then go away. Those are all similar things, and also apparitions. So that whole thing with the signs, it really does sort of almost run nearly the complete spectrum of anything anomalous out there.
Which is very troubled mindsy, because many people believe that, again, not trying to combine their peas and carrots, that, you know, demons and angels are real. And I'm not saying they're not. I'm saying that people also believe aliens are real. I'm not saying they're not, but people also believe that the two things are not the same. And many other people believe the two things are the same. And so I don't really know. As part of this and how it all fits, well, we're just talking and thinking, and yeah. And again, the good thing about doing this, like I said, James hates being called an expert, but when you've read a ton of these stories and kind of been, you know, doing you know, troubled minds type stuff, paranormal type stuff, like he's been doing for a long time now, you do start to become an expert in sort of these ideas, because we've thought about them, we've talked about them so much, and where, you know, many people have not even thought about some of these in a cursory manner, that it's important. It's an important thing, I think, in terms of just looking to the future and what might be and those possibilities. But kind of going back into history, as I always say, is important. But also, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds is James here, and he's kind of putting things together a little bit. And I love it, man. I love it. Regarding anything else regarding what Joe said, and what else you got? Go ahead, sir. Yeah,
and I think in a lot of cases, there's just a lot of people don't have the part of it is the time, the extra time to go through and listen to countless shows and read countless, you know, reports or accounts of experiences online, the way I've been able to do in this last several years here. Yeah, and so the thing that connects it possibly to me is, if we really don't know what all this is, as you know, I sort of look at the idea that all these things they could exist at the same time. In other words, I was thinking of this earlier. Let's say you see 5 or more lights in the sky. You can't even tell if they're lights or craft. Well, one of them could be humans from the future traveling back in time. One of them could be aliens here just to watch or to help. Actually, it could be 2. There could be one that's just here to watch, one other light that's here to help, one other light that's aliens of some kind that are here not to help, and then there could be some kind of other dimensional thing right there with them as well. So you could have, the point is, you could have so many different things that are all in the same area at the same time. We have no idea what their purpose is, and that could all be connected in that. This is the reference I wanted to make real quick here, is in Marvel Comics, in that Earth X, Paradise X, Universe X series that I've mentioned before. At one point, there's this alien, he's in the mainstream comics too, the Watcher. He watches Earth for his own species. But in this series, he is able to look at Earth across the multiverse. He's not just watching one version of Earth. But he's just on the moon and he's just staying there. But what if, again, like you were talking about, there are these similar beings, but they're just flying around doing what they have to do? And what if the whole trickster element to us is actually helping someone else, somewhere else, in some other version of Earth?
Yeah, I love those Watcher guys in Marvel. Like that, there's that one, the Marvel What If, where was it? Who's the robot that became? Did you see that series recently? There's a robot. Is it Ultron? Maybe that became like a sort of took over all the dimensions and all the places. And those Watchers, there was one Watcher that was sort of watching all the dimensions and kind of managing that aspect of things. But then he was speaking as the narrator of the show, of the Marvel What If show. And Derek pointed this out a long time ago, but basically the guy, the Ultron, or whoever this robot was that basically became omnipotent, noticed and heard the whisper. It was like a dimensional whisper. He's like, what was that voice? And then suddenly it was like a fight between the two of them because one could notice the other when one was really outside of time and reality itself, which was the Watcher, of course. Wild stuff. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus. If you guys haven't seen that, but that's exactly what we're talking about here in that sense, and that makes at least some conceptual sense in terms of maybe cosmic curator, and kind of like that.
Yeah, and if it's sort of like if it's a whole, let's say, adjustment bureau or authority, or take your pick of mix of words there that you've already mentioned, that is doing that instead of just one, then again, that could explain all these different sightings and experiences. And yeah, it's even some of the, and not that it's a good thing, but even some of the negative experiences people have. What if they're affecting reality in more than one universe by those negative experiences, those abduction experiences, those whatever. Take your pick of any encounter. Obviously, it's not good for the one entity in the one universe, but maybe it's also helping multiple other versions of that person in other universes, or even just those worlds in general. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying maybe that's why these things are going on.
Yeah, and speaking of chaos, like Jacob said, Monday's chaos props. But imagine if like our human Monday is such a joke to like the aliens that, or whatever's happening out there. I say the aliens in the abstract sense, of course, whatever that even means. That their Monday. That their Monday in the cosmos is quite a bit worse than our Monday could ever be. that to me is a super funny concept. But yeah, I don't know. As usual, just concepts. Real quick, so Kelly dropped this Mosul sphere. This was again leaked, or I'm not sure. But anyway, he's saying that it's describing something he saw. Similar, and it basically matches the actual example here given by AARO. Again, UFOs, the majority of the documented UFOs are described as spherical, glowing white orbs ranging in size from 3 to 13 feet in diameter. Their surfaces often appear translucent or metallic, and that's back to that image right there. You guys have seen this. We talked about this image when it does, but Kelly's talking about it on Rockfan and linked it. So just want to put that out. But yeah, so it is way out there. This sort of chaos theory in the multiverse, as UFOs being sort of the staple or the anchors of a dimensional. I don't know, sandwich, kind of keeping things together. You know when you get a giant sandwich, James, like a giant sandwich, and it's so big they can't, it'll fall apart. So they got to like stab it with like a plastic sword or something, or like a giant ass bunch of toothpicks. They kind of just hold it together to make it like a sandwich. But then when you take all that out, it just falls apart. It's like a big salad anyway. Maybe those it's a stupid analogy here, but maybe the UFOs are those anchors in that sense to keep the sandwich from falling apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe there's more even like threads. They're just weaving threads that hold everything together across all the multiverse. One other thing I wanted to mention is, wouldn't it be ironic in a way if all the different, so those things I mentioned, those different possible explanations for UFOs, they're all right, including some of the propaganda, except it's propaganda. So they're not saying that to give us any actual information. They're just trying to just using that as propaganda, but it's still all out there. And with that, I see you have at least one caller, so I will get going. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're the best. Appreciate it very much. James, you know him, you love him, Salcedo Paranormal. Not only is he a dear friend of mine, he's the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. He's the glue of this show. He makes everything go. And he's got his own radio show, his own podcast. And go check it out. Like I said, it's kind of like the perfect counterpoint to Troubled Minds. We do the long, rambly type stuff together as a group. And he does these really tight sort of paranormal news shows, book reviews. He's doing mythology now, all kinds of stuff. You can listen to his shows, and they're short. They're like 24 minutes. about exactly. Nice work on that, James, or the radio clock. But lots of things that you can actually listen to there. And it's perfect for a commute. You know, my morning commute's about 25 minutes. And so, you know, it's perfect. And yours might be similar. It's perfect to just put on a James podcast, the Salcedo Paranormal, and listen to a few ghost stories on the way to work. So please do that. Give James a follow on all the places, troubledminds.org/friends. And I dropped the link in all the chats already. So go check that out. Give James a follow. You're the best, brother. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. So we're talking about UFOs. We're talking about how this fits or doesn't fit and doesn't make any sense. Hang tight, Jay Winch. Actually, let's go to Jay Winch. There's a bunch of time here. James bowing out graciously as usual because he sees there's a caller. He's like, oh, you got a caller. I'm gonna dip. 702-957-1037. We're talking about a larger aspect of reality, the many worlds theory, and where UFOs fit into that. Are they what I'm calling a dimensional anchor? It's way out there. It's something you haven't heard. It's something nobody's talked about. Like I said, if somebody brought this up before me, I want to know. I pride myself on coming up with new crazy ideas, and this is definitely a new crazy idea, I'm pretty sure. But and it may be so far out there, it may be ridiculous, but that's okay. I'm as I always say, I'm okay being wrong and just talking ideas. Let's do it. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Jay Winch in Missouri. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? And go right ahead.
Good. My speaker working well?
Sounds good. Go right ahead.
All right. So, yeah, James is actually right, though. So either it's all real or it's all fake. And that's the whole UFO thing. Either they're transdimensional or they have technology so far advanced they could squish us like ants. And the reason I say that, Never a Straight Answer said the closest habitable planet is 53 light years away, and we still can't make it to Saturn with people. So if there is really UFOs and they're really coming from these other inhabitable areas, they have technology that can bend space-time, dimensions, however you want to think about it. And that's the reason when people are like, oh, I seen a UFO, it was there, and then it was gone. Well, if it's there and then it was gone, that means it's transversing either through the space and time frame or dimensional frame. And when you start to tie in string theory, it all touches just some little bits and pieces of how it actually all works. But, you know, we're sheep and they'll never give us the real information.
The real info. That's the thing, right? So we're dealing with, here's the thing too. So I'm open to the idea that we're just being manipulated and all of it's fake. Like, as you said, maybe all of it's fake, maybe all of it's real. One or the other, we're flipping coins, but we're flipping coins for reality. By golly, let me say that flipping coins for reality seems pretty dire, if you ask me. You know what I mean? Does that seem that way to you as well?
Well, I mean, if you flip a coin, it's like, you know, technically you flip a two-sided coin. Every single time it should land one or the other, and you should have a 50% one way or the other. But then when you start to factor in everything else, when the way you flipped it, all this other stuff is one side heavier than the other.
What are you cheating?
Like the 50-50. Yeah, what are you cheating? Right? Like I can hold a coin and like 7 out of 10 times I can get it to fall where I want it to flip. That's magician. That's magic. That's, in the old days they called it magic, or they called them gods. Well,
now they call
really
it cheating. Now they just call it cheating, yeah. Jay Winch. That's what they call it these days.
But you see what I'm getting at? Like, is it magic? Are they gods? It's technology. Like, think about it. Right now, if somebody showed up today and he was like, oh, I got a cool phone. Let's take this phone back to the 1700s. And I can pull up a video and see somebody, you know, halfway across the world. They're going to call us gods. They're going to bow to us and be like, oh, this is my God. He has magic and this, that, and the other way above us. And that kind of ties into the whole UFO thing. And it's like, there's so many things that are out there when it comes to UFOs. It's either we have the technology and they're not releasing it, or it's a combination of both. and it kind of ties back into your show yesterday with the whole Mulder X-Files experience and, you know, the deep government and black hats and the cigarette smoking man.
Yes, exactly.
Well, think about it.
It did.
Somewhere close to your area, you had a 2-mile wide triangle that everybody's seen. Even the news reported on it. And then the governor come out and was like, oh. And then it brought out this little fake alien dude, like, to try to play it down. Like, I'm sorry, it was silent. It was almost 2 miles wide, and it was less than 2,000 feet above us. Like, everybody in that area has seen it. So it's either all Matrix and Blue Beam and, you know,
every damn thing they tell us. Either all the conspiracies are real or all of them are not real. We're just about out of time, bro.
Well,
if you want to stick, you can stick after the break. But give me your
I'll stick around.
Give me your best.
I'll stick around. I'll put myself on mute and then let somebody else call in if they want. If not, then I'll chime back in after the break.
All right, stay right there. You're the best. I appreciate it very much. That's Jay Winch in Missouri. Missouri. That's how we say it when you live out there in Missouri. You're not supposed to say Missouri. That's what rookies say. It's like when you say Nevada. It's just Nevada. We're talking the dimensional anchor, UFOs and the chaos factor. What do you know about this? Is it possible there's a larger multi-dimensional space happening, the many worlds theory, wherein and whereby the UFOs we see with human eyes are not of this world, but not only not of this world, they are not of this cosmos, they are not of this multiverse, they are the staples that hold it all together. That's what I want to know. That's what's on my mind tonight. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. We're after the break. We're here with Jay Winch and, of course, your calls as well. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight, we're going way out there. We're going way out there. How about this? What if UFOs are carefully managing multiple realities and their task is incredibly complex? So big, human minds can't really wrap around it. In a chaos theory version of the multiverse itself. I'm calling this the dimensional anchor. And so, is it possible then that we'll never know the nature of the full reality of what UFOs actually are? And we've talked about the archetypes of the trickster spirits. We've talked about the human mind fooling ourselves. We've talked about all kinds of stuff on this show. But this one's big and wild and way out there. And I think this is why we need to sort of just let our imaginations run wild sometimes and come up with ideas that don't make sense. I mean, this doesn't make a ton of sense. With ideas that, most people aren't talking about. Definitely that's what's happening here tonight. We're talking about by wild ideas. And I do wonder if part of the UFO stuff is sort of carefully curated for us to sort of have them on our mind and manifest them, and part of that tulpoid type situation of fear, and I don't know, like who knows what's really happening. Like I really love that show and how that idea kind of fits, and it a lot of this makes a lot of sense, but also a lot of it makes no sense whatsoever. And so that's the fine line we walk here on Troubled Minds, because as always, it's up to you. You choose the reality you live in, and that consensus reality, as much as everybody wants us to believe it, I don't want to believe it. I don't want to believe it. You know why? Because of those control mechanisms, because people trying to tell us what to think and what to do and when to do it and how high to jump. You know what I say to that? You know what I say to that. It's not... It's too vulgar for family radio, and this is a family radio show for the most part, so I'm not going to do that. But you know what's on my mind when people are like, no, Mike, you have to do things this way. I've got something for you, And it's not a nice concept, which is why I won't say it. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go back to Jay Winch. What's up, my friend? We got Kelly on the line, so we'll get to him in a sec. But hang tight, Kelly. Jay Winch, what else you got? Talking about like a larger dimensional anchor here with UFOs and the multiverse and chaos theory. Do you think it all fits, or you think I'm way off the rails this time, my friend? What do you think? You muted, unmute, please, sir. You were good, and then.
All right, so yeah, I'm gonna try to make it all fit.
Okay, perfect. I'm here for it. How's it gonna fit?
Well, I'm
taking
feedback.
notes. Oh, sorry about that. That's my fault entirely. No longer. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to make it all fit in 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll go ahead and put myself on timeout again and mute my mic. But here's how it all fits as one. So when we look up the stars and say we see the stars in Leo or Virgo, this, that, and the other, and say we see a star go supernova, well, that star's how many hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of light years away? So we're seeing something that happened, we'll just go with 1,000 light years away. That's traveling at the speed of light. So if UFOs have the ability to phase in and out, kind of like Star Trek and this, that, and the other, and phase out of reality and just disappear and go somewhere, could we not prevent a situation like that? Would not we be considered a trans-dimensional or a god if we had that technology?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So we start to look at this as, those Kardashev civilizations type of thing. And if you can harness the power of the entire universe, obviously you would be some omniscient, omnipotent entity that could just press a few buttons and make whatever you wanted to happen. So for sure, that it definitely kind of falls in line with that.
As much as I hate to say this, it ties into Disney, Marvel, and Loki, the timekeepers.
Yeah, the time
They
variance
have the
authority.
ability.
Yep.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, if I'm here and I'm looking at a star that died 1,000 years ago, but I had the ability to now transfer dimensionally to that area, well, I seen it 1,000 years ago, but if I travel to it right now, is that really 1,000 years ago? And that ties into who is that guy? EMC squared. I said once you have the ability to bend space and time is no longer relevant. Time is just another dimension. And that ties into the UFOs and the dimensions and everything else.
That guy was named Albert Einstein, just so
yes. Yeah. I knew who he was. I just threw out the EMC squared on purpose just to kind of make people think a little bit and make the little rat wheel travel. So, but like I said, it's like it's either it's all real or it's all a simulation. And the more we learn, unfortunately, I think the world goes through a reset. And the reason I say that is there's no way we could build the pyramids all over the world right now, whether it's in South America, Latin America, the pyramids of Egypt, the pyramids in Alaska, the pyramids in Antarctica. Like, there's no way we could build that in 20 years. But that's what they tell us to believe. And when I say they tell us, it's the same people that tell us to believe that are the same ones that write the books, the same ones that control the narrative.
Jay Winch, the dirty controllers, those guys.
Yes, those mofos that I know you would love to speak about. But I'll leave it there. Like I said, I'm just going to hit a few different things so people can expand on it. And I'll go ahead and put myself on timeout for a little bit and let the other caller come in. And then if you get more in, I'll just check out for the night.
Timeout. Jay Winch is on timeout. Thanks for the amazing take. 702-957-1037. We're talking about ideas. We're talking about this dimensional anchor. Now, look, back to this, and this fits, and this is why I think this is important and why I put it on the top of the write-up. AARO came recently and said this. Again, the AARO is the All-Domain, what do they call themselves? All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO. There's their new fancy website, which looks quite a bit crappier than my website, which, There you go. Let's just let's do some side by side comparisons here of yeah, you bet your bippy. This is way better than their crappy website. In any case, now that they probably spent many millions of dollars to build this piece of crap, they basically came out and said this recently as part of a way to sum up what the most let's say average UFO was in the modern day. And they said this. According to the AARO report, a majority of documented UFOs are described as spherical, glowing white orbs ranging in size from 3 to 13 feet in diameter. Their surfaces often appear translucent or metallic. These orb-shaped craft can remain stationary in midair or travel at extreme velocities up to 7,000 miles an hour, which is twice the speed of sound. Notably, the objects produce no visible exhaust or discernible propulsion system. I can't never say it. Discernible propulsion system. Say discernible propulsion 10 times fast. Suggesting they employ advanced unconventional forms of propulsion. Okay, and that's exactly what leads us into Kelly in Colorado. What's up, my friend? You are on Troubled Minds. How are you? And go right ahead, sir.
Good evening, Michael. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go right ahead.
All right, so we're talking about these orbs here. I just want to bounce on that real quick. But, yeah, most people see, like, the light orbs, you're talking about maybe 3 feet in diameter, or, I don't know, a couple feet in diameter, maybe 3 feet to a foot. But once you start getting into, like, what I seen, I was talking to you about describing on Rockfin, but when you get to, like, about, in my opinion, about, something that a person can stand in. So even like, I don't know, 4 feet, if we're talking those small gray creatures, or even like a human being, talk about maybe 10, 12 feet diameter, whatever that report says 13 feet. Okay. So I'm going to give you a story real quick. I'm going to let everybody know the story that I seen something like that. In the description, and the one that you showed, it was about like that. I wouldn't say it looked okay. So it looked smooth, right? when I was leaving the Navy, and I was moving my household goods from Maryland to Nebraska, where my mom was staying at the time. But when I was in Kansas, I was traveling. We were traveling on this. It was like not a lot of people on this type highway. It wasn't a freeway; it was a highway we were traveling on because we were trying to get, climbing our way up south up to north, right? So we wasn't jumping on the freeway. We was on some desert highway, or like a deserted highway kind of. It was you only seen a few cars here and there once in a while, but it was coming up on these tree lines. Trees were probably I'd say about maybe 30, 40 feet high, right? Close to 50. Let's just say that. But above that was probably about another 50 feet was the silver. It was silver shaped looking, or silver color looking, but it wasn't like how you look at. Sorry, that's my phone. If you look at like a steel marble, like a ball bearing, right, you could tell that it would be a solid. This thing, the way that it glistened and the way it shaped it was, at first I thought it was like a, but it was too perfect round with a, and it actually kind of got that little, where it's attached to a string or something. It's kind of like pulling on it because of the way it was sitting high. There was kind of a light breeze. So it kind of like tug on it. So you could see where it kind of drooped down like a balloon. But this thing, the closer I got, the weirder it was looking. The color of the shape of it was silvery looking, but it wasn't like it was solid. And then when I started getting close, that's when it shot straight up. It shot from that height all the way up to where I couldn't even see it anymore. You know what I mean? It just shot straight up in the air, and the way it moves so fast, it kind of like actually startled me because, I'd never seen. I've been in the military. I've seen some fast jets when they were flying, but I've never seen anything And it didn't make no sound, no nothing. It just, the way it hopped, I mean, it just, boom, gone. And I was like, there's no way that was a balloon, like someone cut the thing and it floated. No, this thing shot like thousands of feet, like 7,000 feet just per second.
Yeah,
this
so
thing was gone.
Yeah, so real quick on that. So you described it as, when you look at a ball bearing, you know that it's a solid object because because of 3D physics and how we live in this 3D world or universe or whatever you want to call it. So we recognize something that's our own, and so what you're describing seems like it's like that, but it's out of phase a little bit, almost like it's in between worlds. That type of thing. Was that sort of the thing? Was it like shimmering? Was it like foggy? Was it what did it look like that made you realize it wasn't like an actual 3-dimensional object like a ball bearing?
Well, the closer I got to it, like I said, that's when I could start really the skin of it. It was like the skin of it, outer skin of it. It was more of a, you could say like it was a gray, you know what I mean? Kind of a, but it was, I don't know. I don't know really how to explain it. It was shimmering, but it was not shiny. You know what I mean? And it was like, so like when you moved around it, like, say like if I was coming, moving from left to right to it and it was standing still, the way the shape was, it was like almost, it was phasing in and out. You know what I mean? Kind of like there, but not there. Kind of like, when people, paint their cars different colors, you see the 2 different color tones and stuff. That's what kind of like that, but it was all silvery and it was real smooth. There was no like ripples or anything else like that. It was, and, cause Michelle was behind me too. And I asked her, we were on walkie talkies. I was like, it happened so fast. I didn't grab the walkie-talkie to ask her, but I asked her if she did see it later on, but she didn't, because that thing was moving fast. But the thing and the description, the example that I sent you was the one. If you look that up online, it's going to be called drone captures. I think it was a drone, not a helicopter, but it was a drone that captures. It was called the orb over Mosul. So when they were bombing Mosul, there was drones that were flying over, and this thing like was flying right above. You could tell, like in the picture, it was like flying right above the buildings that was there in Iraq, and it was a still capture, and you can look that up. Like they have video too on YouTube on it, but it's another crazy one because it's shaped like the one I was talking about, like a or like it wasn't an orb, it wasn't glowing, it was just silvery. You know what I mean? So, but for you're trying to get into where it was like an ancient. So in some theories that I've ran across, people saying that these things, they're multi-dimensional. So it's kind of like, it's not that you're saying, in the world or in the physical world, they're jumping from different dimensions. So when I ponder that, I look at it as if, these things are coming from a higher dimension into the lower dimension. That's the theories. Okay. So they're coming down, but it's a real dent in this dimension, in this 3rd dimension for them. Right. So that's probably why they created like these grays, you know what I mean? That are kind of a robot, but yet, they have like a skin or a tissue because they can't come down here on this planet. Now, or if they do, there's going to be like in a suit or some kind. That's probably why we've seen in the ancients have drawn like these type of visitors or whatnot in suits or flying on these weird type objects, or they could be like the grays or, that are coming down here. Because if that was the case, if I'm, multi-jumping around through the universe and I know that I can't go down on some planet, I'm sending down but I want to, get ground, stuff like sending like a robot or something down, something that's not going to affect it. You know what I mean? Any, like some of the, or you can adjust it where it can, even if it has to wear a suit, something that's going to protect its skin, or, it doesn't need to breathe, it's just functioning down there on a planet or something. But that's the thing. So if they're coming from a higher dimension to a lower dimension, like our 3rd dimension, it's going to be really dense for them. Now, for your theory for like that, if that's the case, kind of like the one that guy was talking about on coast to coast, where he called in and saying that it was a precursor from, the landing on the moon. But, that a dimensional being. So you got to be pretty, that type of thing for me is going to be, it's been around for the universe for a very long time, right? First off, if you can travel throughout the galaxy, it's going to be one thing. That's high in technical, the technology on that is very high. But if you go and jump into dimensions, now that's probably even higher. So I don't know if you can say that these people or these things that are moving through dimensions, they're from a, look at a malevolent or benevolent, we won't know that, But from the stories that I've ran across with like the Emerald Tablets, stuff like that, they're not here to be friendly, you know what I mean? So you kind of I would say be cautious about it. But like as an anchor, who knows? If these things can jump from dimension to dimension, I don't know about an anchor, but maybe they're, if they're a higher being, that's what I'm saying. If they're that technology-wise, jumping through dimensions, you would hope that they were on the good side. You know what I'm saying? Not on the bad side. To conquer. Because there's real quick. That just kind of sounds like almost like Asgard, on the Rainbow Bridge. These guys were, they were taking all these worlds, or I would say, to me, this when they talk like worlds, it's just like dimensions, where they're all linking, or they're the anchor, everything straight.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just wanted to add into that there that I forgot what I was going to say. It happens. It'll come to me in a sec. But okay, so back to that dimensional anchor aspect here. So this is the thing, right? So we've talked about quantum music and sort of as a theory and what that might look like, sort of the superposition of notes. Now, taking that to like the extreme, I think it was Illicit or it was Tim said way back in the day, and it sticks with me. These comments you guys make in the chat, it sticks. But one of those two guys said that quantum music is something that you can hear in all dimensions at once. Okay. Now, the same thing applies for this sort of UFO stuff. And this is how I'm looking at this in terms of this dimensional anchor. And imagine that all of us are seeing, again, and we're going way out there, way speculative, the many worlds theory and the rest. But imagine we're all seeing these UFOs that are kind of around the same size, which, again, as described by AARO, ranging glowing white orbs, spherical glowing white orbs ranging in size from 3 to 13 feet. Surfaces appear to translucent or metallic. So what if they're seeing these exact things in other realms, other places? And this is sort of the anchor that keeps it all together, and that's the idea here. That's why I think it's important, and that's why I asked you specifically what it looked like, how you could explain, if possible, how it was. You just knew it wasn't sort of a three-dimensional thing; it was something else. But it seems to me that there's a lot of possibilities, and you know me, man. I like weird ideas, so why not? What else you got for us tonight, my friend?
None. Well, else like that. It was like, again, I'm just going to go back to that Asgard thing where, it sounds like, okay, for the music, the universal music, the galaxy music, whatever. It kind of reminds me of, like, again, I kind of talked about that on another show, but it was, like how they said there was the spoken, not the spoken word, but everybody on the planet all spoke the same language, right? And I ran across where there was this, she was a seer, and she was talking about if, she kind of went into the biblical part where how everybody spoke the same language. Well, no one knows what that language was, right? But and that's when they were supposedly building the Tower of Babel. And then, they made everybody, speak different languages so they can, we don't come together again, and to build something like that, which I thought was, in my opinion, sounds like a spaceport to me. But he was saying that once you hear it, once we hear this old language, could be even music, but once we hear it, everybody will know. everybody's going to understand from, like, I guess, a universal standing point, I guess, per se, that, we will all remember. It doesn't matter how many generations down the line it went first time, but everybody will remember because it's in our DNA. We just don't know it yet. It's just, we have, like most people say, like Graham Hancock with amnesia,
Which makes a lot of sense. I wonder if we've talked about sort of the DNA aspect of the way the world works, and that epigenetics memory, how we're born with some innate knowledge of just being what we are, the dogs, cats, people, whatever, right? Whales, like how do fish know how to swim? You don't have to teach them how to swim; they just know how to swim. That type of stuff. So it's like, in the larger sense, I wonder if UFOs are built into our epigenetic memory in some capacity. Does that make sense to you? That, like, it's built in to sort of the backbone of who we are for thousands of years or millions of years because we've been seeing them for that long? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Again, I just go back to the Sumerian stories in their pantheon. You know what I mean? I mean, they even talk about, like, too, like, even in, that's not the only place, like, about talking about these, UFOs or whatnot, or, their gods come in, or, like, and they're powerful. They seem to be, like, powerful type beings, they got a lot of, they can do a lot of things, so if that's the case, maybe they come here once in a while, and like they say, they'll always be back. They leave, and then they return, and then they leave, and then they return. You know what I mean? So maybe they are, these could be gatekeepers or whatnot. And they're traveling, not amongst the stars, but through or through dimensions. Multi. So we don't even know how many dimensions there really are. But from science has seen so far that I ran across in some of the stories they have, like 11 dimensions. But even in then, who knows on the universal scale? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So as people, we can conceptualize very large numbers, but can we conceptualize infinity? It becomes the question. And that's why this gets incredibly complicated. We're out of time, my friend. 30 seconds, final thought.
Final thought is, well, you have the situation where, there's the stories that have been amount throughout history, and and actually in the 1900s too, of these, like I said, on, so you never know, man. You never know. But to think about it, like I said, hopefully they're on the good side.
Amen. Well said. You're the best, Kelly. Go Raiders. Go Silver and Black State. Thanks for calling. Thanks for being you. Tell Michelle we said hi. You have a fantastic night. You're the best, brother.
All right.
Thanks a lot. That's Kelly in Colorado. We're taking your calls as well. 702-957-1037. The Dimensional Anchor. What do you know about it? Am I too far off the rails? Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
So we got, all right, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're taking your calls as we get weird. Super weird. Super weird. This is what's on my mind tonight. Look, if UFOs are flying around all the time and everybody sees them, but nobody knows what they are, I decided to go full on cosmic. They say, Mike, never go full cosmic. Never go full string theory. And yet, I don't like people telling me what to do. so there's that. The other thing is, it's fascinating as hell to me that there's a sort of a weird dichotomy here in terms of everybody sees UFOs. Nobody knows what they are. Everybody has their theories. Like I said, if you can grab an alien by the ear and throw them in a zoo, then I'll believe you. And look, there's tons of people that say they can summon these things and do all the things and all the stuff, right? All the stuff. And look, it's fine. I'm not even saying they're lying. I'm saying if that's the case and you can do that, then let's see it. There's a term. It's called crap or get off the pot. And so if you claim you can summon aliens, I want to see them. We want to see them. The world wants to see them. So, again, not to be disrespectful, just to be discerning and wondering why, if these entities are all over the damn place, that only some of us can see them. Psi powers, I don't know. It grinds my gears a little bit, but I don't know the answers, and that's why. Because, of course, I don't know the answers to the things, the stuff happening in the universe, and that's that. It's the way it is. So, partially, that's what grinds my gears, right? What am I talking about? Shut up, Mike. What if UFOs are carefully managing multiple realities and their task is incredibly complex in a chaos theory version of the multiverse? There you go. Let's make it as complicated as possible, because chaos theory in a multiverse means that one little thing that happens here and now can spin off into some other reality and affect it infinitely, terribly, or magnificently. Okay? And so what if, the Time Variance Authority, or what if, the fellow K. Dick Cosmos, again, he says he channeled other realities of the Adjustment Bureau. What if these things are actually happening? And the UFOs we see are sort of glimpses into that. Just these little flickering of things we'll never be able to comprehend. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not knowing the answers. I think that the ideas are far more important for, let's say, humanity and pressing forward than just binary answers, like I always say, the lefty-righty politics and the control mechanisms and all the stuff where we're told to believe that every damn thing out there's an easy answer to. But come on now. So you know me, I'm like, F that. Let's blow this up and go full multiverse chaos theory, mix in the UFOs. Yeah, it's like we're baking. Cosmic bacon. What do you know about this? Baking and not bacon. Cosmic baking. Yes. What do you know about this? Am I too far off the rails for you tonight? Look, it's okay. You know why? Because this is the best part about all this, by the way. Is if nobody listens, I don't really care. Because we literally went for almost an entire year with almost nobody listening. So you know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it's like, well, Mike, now you've done it. You've run everybody off because of your wild ideas. Now you've really done it. That's better when people listen. But also, by the way, we did almost an entire year with nobody listening. So I'm not making a social commentary there. I'm just saying there's kind of a point where you're just like, well, we were there once, so maybe we'll get there again soon, and nobody will listen ever again. Who knows? That's what I'm saying. It's a little bit freeing in terms of not being right or just deferring truth. Anyway, what do you think about this? The idea in a larger scale. Are we in a chaos theory UFO situation wherein and whereby something out there is managing not just a complex system of our universe and our cosmos here, but also managing a complex system quite a bit larger than anything we could ever conceive of? That's what's on my mind tonight. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org and we'll put you on the show just like this. David in Missouri. David in... on the road.
Colorado.
Colorado. David on the damn road. David on the road.
How's it going, Mike?
See what happens when this is what happens when I work literally 18 hours a day and my brain melds in 44 different ways. Welcome to the joint. I can hear you just fine. How are you tonight? Go right ahead, sir. What are your thoughts?
Doing good. There's so many different thoughts about this,
Yeah, go ahead. Go
so
ahead.
many different avenues.
David from Mars.
Yeah.
We're going to just start doing that. Go ahead, sir.
It's like some people can look at the universe like it's a brain, and we got these nano worlds and the universe, they're both in both spectrums. They reflect the same fractal patterns. It seems universe can be like a brain, and large and small, the spectrums of the fractal patterns, and you see these things, and they kind of look like there's answers we can find in them, kind of like how they're mapping the genome or learning more about the brain and mapping the brain and just these different patterns that can be found in these things. So it kind of reminds me of that. And when it comes to like the orbs and it just reminded me of an experience I had through some friends where, it's comparing like aliens to the spiritual world, like there's spiritual orbs and then there's alien orbs. But what if they're like one and the same, and maybe they're not. Maybe there's two of a kind. Like maybe there's also spiritual orbs and there's alien orbs. And so you have like different aspects, but all of the above could be true, So you could have alien orbs and spiritual orbs, but it conflicts. You get these different things that happen. Like I had this group of friends taking a picture of their Halloween night together in a group, and they had 4 different cameras, and they all took the same snapshot and developed all the film at different places. And there was a bubble orb next to a young lady, next to her head, and it looked like the 3D bubble, like kind of like the bubbles you blow, and every one of them developed the film different places, and they compared the pictures, and they all have the orb in it. So what does that mean? I don't know. People say maybe it's a guardian angel, some kind of spiritual protector. Then you got these alien orbs, and you go, well, are they similar, same, or are they different? Where are they coming from? Other dimensions? So you have, and yeah, the spiritual orbs are from a spiritual dimension, I'm sure, right? So there's the similarities.
Yeah.
So it just makes my mind wonder.
Yeah, which is the basis of Troubled Minds, as you know. You've been with us for a long time, been a good friend for a long time. Is that like we're mixing these ideas quite a bit, specifically because I think personally this is the way of it. I think that we're supposed to have this blenderish aspect of reality, and us as humans trying to like specifically and strictly define exact things in sort of a dare I call it like a quantum system. Like how could you do that? Like again, the particle wave duality, the collapse of the wave function, Schrodinger's cat, even the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Like there's a ton of things happening that we've scientifically quantified that basically suggest we live in like a spooky system, man. And whatever that means, like in a larger or smaller concept, or however you want to sort of define those things, I think it's important to sort of not be too concerned if your peas get mixed with your carrots, my friend. I think it's completely fine, because we're all confused in that sense. Like, how do you define it? Like I said earlier, some people are like, "Oh, UFOs are demons." Nope, they're angels. Nope, nope. They're this or that. They're the other thing. They're all the other things. They're everything that we say they are, except not the things that you say they are, because you're wrong, but I'm right. And this is it seems like another control mechanism to me, which I don't like. You know me. Like I said, I hate being told what to do. What you got on that?
It is a confusing thing, but I think that once people start making, say, records of things, which we have, and then like a roadmap starts to develop, so you start to be able to compare and see things that are coinciding with others. And so it eventually, I think that we're all going to, collectively come to a conclusion eventually. So that's my hope anyway, that we'll figure these things out, through time. But and this is like the foundation of the start of, like, being able to talk to each other and communicate and do all those things to coincide, to make a map, of what these things can be and where things can go and how they coincide together. And so it's really it's a fascinating start to all of it, really.
It almost feels like, too, you can go back to the Dark Ages and the Renaissance and all the way back to the Roman Empire, and then before that, and then like the ancient Sumerians, and I mean all the way back to whatever they tell us is the beginning, the dawn of civilization. And even then, like you stack all that on top of each other, and like I don't discount that. I think it's all that's valuable. It's all grinding time in the dirt, grinding dirt time, I guess. And what I mean by that is that we're out there with the animals, getting eaten, and we're getting bit by scorpions, and the black widows are killing our pets, and the stuff like this, like we're out there grinding in the dirt and trying to learn how to like not have these horrific things happen to us, and sort of how to create a forward basis for what humans could and should be. Okay. But then beyond that, I still think, even though you and I talking to each other with the miracle of the internet, and you're way out there and I'm way over here, and all the people, like we got people listening all over the world to this show. And I mean, that's a miracle. That's a miracle in modern times, based on, even just 100 years ago, when they had like the telegraph, like tick, 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 like dot, dot, dash. But beyond that, and the reason I say that and kind of stack it up in that regard is because I still think, even though the modern miracle, and as smart as we are, and all the human hubris we have, and all the great ideas we think we have, I think it's probably not even close to what the truth is. I think we're still like grotesquely short of even sort of a twinkle in the eye of what reality truly is. That's why I'm here, because I have no damn idea. But it seems to me that sort of this is toes in the ocean. As great as these conversations are, I think that still we are bereft of any real evidence in a cosmic sense, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I can talk, can't I? Dear God, Mike, shut up.
I mean, the thoughts of like these craft being, from other dimensions, or they might not even be from outer space. They might not be from another world. They could be just, from the multiple world lines. They could be coming here for divergence, and somehow coming here to manipulate basic things here to cause a butterfly effect in their own world line. So it's like maybe we're the effect they need in their place. So it's like they need to manipulate here to get what they need. So I don't know. There's so many different ways to think of things, and it's kind of fun. So brain puzzles.
Fun is fun. I do like brain brain puzzles myself, or else I wouldn't be here. So how big do you think it gets? Do you think if sort of those quantum systems we always talk about, and the idea of a larger concept of that, and then Schrodinger's cat and that superposition and quantum entanglement, and that just sort of really getting at the like I said, it's sort of the caveman science of what we know now. Do you think that this actually, like, entanglement is dimensional? Is what I'm suggesting. This sort of and that's why there needs to be sort of these anchors in place to hold realities together from different spaces, different areas. And when I say areas and spaces, I mean think the largest thing you could ever consider, and then think a million times bigger than that. Like, these spaces are massive. And so I don't know. Do you think it fits sort of this dimensional version of a quantum system and how it all fits together?
Yeah, it seems like a fractal type of system where things. It's like seeing a galaxy being consumed by a black hole, and these the pressure, the different aspects. So you get these different effects, and you have the fractals, and one thing gets destroyed, something else gets created, and so you get so there must be some connection between these different dimensions and multiple world systems where they rely on each other in order to exist, and maybe that's maybe that's where it all kind of all comes together. Is maybe it's a system like that where things play off each other, and it's fascinating to think about. Really, it can get really deep really quickly. Bigger and bigger,
yeah. bigger, better, faster, more. So back to this real quick. So I've got this article, and it's so strange to me that the UFO world, and I know you follow this a little bit as well, where we have like a group of people, like a camp of people, the old school, that have been sort of pressing these ideas for a long time. And then we've got like a sort of a new school of like basically, like I see it like this, like UFO propaganda and then UFO counter propaganda. Now, we're going to take this a little bit deeper here, and I want your opinion on this. And what I mean is specifically back to the names. I'm not going to call out names and be stupid. Look, this is also proof, by the way, that for the most part you can have conversations without calling people out and flexing on people and calling them out. You're a liar. You're a thief. You're a do we have to do this all the time? But my point is that what is happening with that space? Because it seems like it's so binary in terms of, well, yep, the old guard has been reporting these things, and they're heroes, and they're bringing in disclosure, and we love them and we back them implicitly. But then you have like this other actual camp that's a group of people that are constantly just crapping on that old school, these ideas. And what I mean is this. How do I say it? So if you don't believe in any of this stuff, don't you think like your time would be better spent like playing cricket or mastering how to bake at elevation or how to play golf? Or it's bizarre to me how we have this entire like now new industry that's like, okay, you can ignore them too. Like you don't have to spend all your time like raging against the UFO machine. I mean, you could just ignore them and just go play golf or something. Anyway, what's your take on that? What is happening in that space? Like it's like this mad motivation of materialists versus the woo. It's like, hey, look, if you're a materialist, it's like if you're arguing so heavy and so hard against the woo, it almost feels like The materialist believes the woo. It's like they're drawn like the moth to the flame. I don't know. What's your take? Like why are we here in this space where it's just like, and again, like there's a name I could point out on this article, how wealthy UFO fans helped fuel fringe beliefs. It's like, why are you writing about this? If you think this is all nonsense, why? Like, I don't know. What? Go ahead, sir.
Might reference to spirituality in a way, because people who experience things that are spiritual, connect with people who don't have those experiences, and those people will go, well, they'll rationalize it, and that's common, and so you're getting kind of the same thing when it comes to people who are experiencers, when it comes to alien, UFOs, whatever, and then the people that are not in that group, and they'll rationalize it. And they go, oh, it's, swamp gas or whatever, So eventually, I think that there will be more experiencers than there are on the other group. So, the naysayers and stuff like that, So eventually, there's going to be, because people see these things more often than not, and have close encounters and stuff like that, and so it's really it's much like how spirituality and science are starting to come together, not religion and science, but spirituality and science. So you have these two things coming together, and it's going to start forming a type of understanding between the two. So I feel like it's similar to that, but when it comes to the UFO and alien stuff, and there's going to be a majority in that sense. There's going to be more people that are experiencers than not, and so eventually people are just going to know, and we're not going to have to have some entity outside of the system, like the government or whoever, to tell us anything, because we're all going to know. It's like a collective knowledge that's going to become very obvious to all of us.
Yeah, which is what they don't want. That's exactly what we're fighting against, just by having these conversations. Again, like I said, I'm never expecting to unlock some secret cheat code of the universe and elevate every troubled mind out there to whatever you would call it. That's nonsense to me. Yeah. Whatever. Like, but there's a lot of people that quantify that stuff as such, and so I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird. All this is weird. I was just like it weighs on my mind because look, if I think something has zero oxygen to it, why am I going to feed it fire? Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. But whatever.
There's no fuel.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. You at home? You on the road? Oh, you said Colorado. You're on the road.
Yeah, I'm just on a layover for a couple days, and I'm waiting to get a load and get back
nice.
home. So
nice.
Yep.
Thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. Sleep well. Be safe when you get back on the road. Thanks for calling. Thanks for being you. You're the best, brother. Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thanks.
Thanks a lot. That's David on the road. You know him, you love him. Give him a follow. Links in the description. troubledminds.org/friends. It says, follow David here. He's a talented guitar player, among many other things. Go check that out. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. We're talking the dimensional anchor, UFOs, and chaos factor. How does this fit or does it not? Jen in Missouri and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, Twitter, and Twitch. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. Tonight we're taking your calls as we discuss, I don't know, we're going way out there. The dimensional anchor, I'm calling this. UFOs and the chaos factor. What if chaos theory is not confined to just the Earth, or not just to the solar system, or not just to the galaxy? What if it's beyond that? What if the actual situation we're dealing with is the chaos theory of the multiverse itself? And as an added wrinkle, what if the UFOs are that glowing staple that holds it all together? I don't know. As usual, just another idea because, like I said, I just can't show up every night and talk about the same crap I talked about last night because, it's fun and all, but I'd get bored and I'd stop and I wouldn't come back and you wouldn't like that. And so I wouldn't like that either. So I'd talk about wild and weird ideas. And that's just what I do and why I'm here. And people are strange when you're a stranger. What's up, Thomas? 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Just talking about the cosmos in quite a bit more weird way than we normally do, and that's okay because that's part of what Troubled Minds is and does. Let's go to Jen in Missouri. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds, the Arcane Observer. How are you tonight? And go right ahead.
Yes, everything is really strange.
I got the echo. Sorry.
I think that one of the big things, when thinking about the UFO is trying to figure out what it could be. And I think it's a good idea to put out all the ideas of what it could be. And I mean, we've heard all the things like you mentioned about what they could be and everything. And I've always speculated that, if there was some type of another species, if these are alien in a way, I've always considered them kind of like spies or something. It seems like that's the case, or that they are some type of, that they are constructed, that they are made or something. There is some type of, in some cases, they are efflorescent, like people see them and they appear to kind of just be no shape particularly. But in other cases, they are described as having a solid form. And then people have these strange experiences with them, and they encounter beings in them. Or they are transported by some individuals that somehow come from them. So they seem to be some type of transporter of sorts. And that seems very strange. But if you think about the idea of like electricity and how information is carried that way over vast distances, or you think of the way that radar works and how information is carried over a vast distance, and how it can become and seem, it can have the impact on the mind the same way as something physically being there in a way, if it can convince the mind that it is real. And it's strange because if you think about the Earth and the way that it's working on a mineral level, like minerals are the foundation of biomolecules in creating life on the Earth. Minerals are what's behind all of that. And then when you think about the magnetic field of the Earth itself being strongest at the poles, of course, but then that it's emanating from the core of the Earth in a way, but also from the outside, out from space as well. But just the idea that the part of the human body that's the most magnetic is the brain. Actually, okay. So one second. The strongest magnetic field, this is according to American Institute of Physics, the strongest magnetic field from nerve tissue is from the brain. And the normal brain yields its largest field during sleep. Okay? So then when you're thinking about the idea of the Earth's magnetic field and the strongest, the generation of the magnetic field from the core of the Earth, and that there might be something located in those locations, there might be something occupying that. And because I believe in a hidden race that's living below the surface of the Earth. I think the Earth is huge, because not just because it is obviously huge, but that there's a bio layer there going on that's occupied by previous species that are living there, almost just are existing as an ecosystem. That there's a bigger ecosystem in the Earth than just the surface, which just makes sense because life can exist almost anywhere. But I mean, just taking that into the idea, if there was a period on the surface of the Earth where they could no longer be, maybe the Earth has been through many phases, of course, as we know, and that at one point there were occupants on the surface, a different species, that as it went through these different changes couldn't live on the surface anymore, and they went below the surface, but they were masters of Neolithic things like the stones and things like that, and the understanding of minerals. If they created something that could, if they were still surveying the surface of the Earth, it would make sense that one of the minerals they might use would be lithium. Lithium metals are really incredible. They're used in a lot of semiconductor technology. Lithium is a soft it's like a silvery white metal. And it's an alkali metal. It's really incredible because it's very light. And some people have said that it's almost like lithium metal is light. It's lighter than liquid air, and it will float on it. And in some ways, lithium atoms, because although lithium atom is lighter than an oxygen atom, lithium has a dense crystalline structure of atoms, whereas oxygen doesn't. And this makes lithium denser than oxygen, and its density, or lack thereof, it makes it float in a way. So I wonder if they aren't using, and there's the semiconductor technology too that we are struggling with, which is dependent on lithium technology. It carries this information over vast distances. I wonder if these entities, or if and we may be on the verge of it ourselves, where somehow you're transporting the magnetic, because thoughts created, okay, back to the idea of the brain being the most magnetic part of the mind, or of the body, I'm sorry. Thoughts are viewed, according to the National Institute of Health, brain-to-brain communication would be possible because electromagnetic fields can be meaningful and result from the different thoughts. So electromagnetic fields are formed from the thoughts because of the oscillation of the neurons in the brain, and especially during sleep. So wouldn't it be strange if somehow there was a species that was superior in that arena, and they were manipulating the sleep field and the electromagnetic field of the Earth itself, and the use of lithium minerals in a way, or some type of, that's the only thing we know of that's like that. And we were using it for our own technology to pretty much run everything we have, technologically speaking. If they had already mastered that, and we are just learning it, but that is maybe the mechanism behind some of the UFOs people are seeing, that they are a mind-manipulated lithium metal of some kind that is spawned from the inner core of the Earth, where they're utilizing the most powerful magnetic fields and then using these great minds. If you think about the old species, like I can't remember how you pronounce it, but it's like the Bakugan man or something like that, but I'm saying the Boxcop man. And he had this, there were these skulls they found that had these huge craniums. So people were saying, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that they had huge brains in there, but they were buried separate from the other skeletons. The Boxcop man was, there were a series of skulls that they found that were, when they were doing excavations and finding things like Neanderthals and hominids and all these different lost species in a way, the puzzle pieces as they would think of them. If it's the case that they did have these great minds, perhaps like huge brains or something, they would that's the most magnetic part of the body because of the oscillation of the neurons and the way that the brain functions, that it's a constant energy generating thing. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot that could be going on. And I think that there was a link there, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're bringing up sort of the dream space and the magnetic fields of what it means to be human and the rest of that stuff. And so here's the weird one, like 2 years down the road, when I'm like, okay, we've done everything. I'm like, no, we haven't done the multiverse, chaos theory, UFOs, and the dream realm combined. You're 2 years ahead of me, Jen. You're 2 years ahead of me. But
there's something there, though.
No. I'm only making fun because you're right, because it is part of who we are and what we are. So I'm not. Don't take that the wrong way. I mean that. So if we're literally sort of in this space and interacting in ways we don't understand with the world around us, and then who knows in sort of a larger conceptual space outside of this realm, I think it plays, because like if you're like, come on, Mike, it's dumb to say humans interact with anything outside of this universe. I don't know. We dream, don't we? we dream, right?
Yes.
So suddenly, it suddenly becomes something else. And I think it's a great point. Is really what I was trying to say there. Go ahead. What you got?
Yeah, the strongest. Okay, so the American Institute of Physics says the strongest magnetic field from nerve tissue is from the brain, and that the normal brain yields its largest field during sleep. In addition to that, you have the thoughts according to electromagnetic theories of consciousness, or brain-to-brain communications, out of an article from National Institute of Health from the government, that the study indicates electromagnetic fields can be meaningful and result from different thoughts and feelings formed in the brain, and that thoughts are viewed as electromagnetic representations of neuronal information, and the experience of free will in our choice of actions is argued to be a subjective experience of the semi-field acting on our neurons. So our brain is affected by encountering these UFOs that may be made of a lithium metal that is lighter than liquid oxygen and is somehow manipulating and able to float through the air as it does using magnetic fields. And it's the same technology we are using for our semiconductor technology that we send all of our information back and forth across the planet as well. And it's just a continuance of it, except they have mastered it probably beyond us. But it would make sense that we would be mirroring it if we were exchanging information in some way with some species that perhaps maybe they aren't even occupying the core, but they can. But they are definitely making use of every element of the earth and every way and wisdom about it that we are. Maybe, I don't know if we're fresh off the press with it, but as we are becoming introduced to it ourselves as a species. Maybe lost information. I have no idea.
Yeah, some of these ideas are novel. I'm not going to flatter myself and ourselves here that everything we come up with is something that's never been thought of before. Because as they say, nothing new under the sun, that type of thing. But I do think that we cannot do something we have never conceived of trying to do, and so that's sort of this cyclical loop of what Troubled Minds really is. It's like, okay, so let's throw the lasso further out into the cosmos and see what we can kind of drum up conceptually, because if we can't think of it, certainly we can't do it. So at least let's think of it and kind of look in that horizon and see what comes next for sure. The odds are we're not going to live to 50,000 years or something to see what that culmination is, but we're in a realm wherein and whereby the things we say today may live forever as part of a sort of a cultural database that may be novel at some point. Let's say we're so far ahead of the game. I'm going to flatter ourselves that let's say we go viral in the year 2688 or something. That'd be sweet, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think the whole reason we even study this stuff, right? The fact that humans are studying lithium metals and nitrogen and why that's important, how we've broken it down and figured it out. That's an ancient magic and science unto itself. Like some of these things will react very violently with oxygen. So I think, when you're talking about like lithium metal being lighter than liquid air and that it will float on it, or that liquid nitrogen or things like that, the way that these things will interact, the fact that in our human studies that we are interested in this type of science is a telltale sign that we have been in contact with something that knew these things. We have been in contact with some type of, I don't know how we would just naturally have that information unless it was taught to us. And it would make sense if there are lost species that knew this, and that they are still existing and know it. And I don't know, it just really makes you think about all the possibilities of what could be going on as far as, and I think it is hard to believe about UFOs if you haven't seen anything of the kind. But when you hear the vast, now within our own government too, how they have to kind of unveil a lot of the technology that they have been keeping cloak and dagger, in a way, that they have to eventually give up the ghost a little bit. And then there are so many people in the military and so many people in the scientific field that are aware of these things like DARPA and things like that, that they have to reveal just a little bit of what is behind the screen and what is going on with the Earth itself, that we are not alone as we have previously thought. And that, I mean, that's an obvious thing, but even our own technology itself being alive, if the biomolecule of life, I mean, if minerals are a catalyst for the formation of biomolecules, which on Earth led to life. And everything that cannot be grown, that's neither plant nor animal, is a mineral or is made of minerals. And all of our manufacturing and everything of our electronics and everything is run off of these types of minerals. So it's creepy to think that maybe more than ever now, we are up close and personal with this information-giving mineral life. It's strange to think that our technology already is alive, or that it somehow is a life form, much like a bird or like houseplants, which is a very strange concept and doesn't make any sense at all. But if it's carrying these minerals of fruition that carry this information with them, it's hard to define, especially for humans, where is the line between life and, because the opposite for life in our minds, of course, is death. But if these things are neither of those, they're just an information carrier. They are like the epitome, in a way, of expression. So it's we're on the verge of a lot of things,
I think so too. I think that's, again, why conceptual thought is probably the most important thing for humans going forward. And that's why I'm here every night. That's why I do this. Like 5 years ago, it's funny to say that, I made the joke that, hey, nobody listened back then, so what do I care if anybody listens now? And that's just me being cynical. Of course, it's not like that. We're doing very well. But the point there is that entropy is a thing, and we are sort of in this space of, I don't know. Gnosis is a big word. We're in this space of enlightenment is a big word. We're in this space of, I think our toes are in that ocean of whatever the sublime can be. And that's why it's important to me to kind of further this stuff, because even now, like I said, 5 years ago, it seemed like a fool's errand. And right now, I don't think it does at all, because, you start to sort of catalog these things in terms of AI and catalog these things in terms of, think about this, Jen. Imagine in a moment, just a single moment, over 5 years of troubled minds, whether it was me or you or anybody else as part of these conversations, we literally generated a novel thought that our galaxy has never heard before or never considered. And that to me is like, okay, all right. If that's even possible, then I think we're doing good work, and that's the way I see it. In this larger sense of the dimensional anchor and UFOs kind of flitting around as these maybe the backbone of reality or multiple realities. What do you think about that? Is that a little too far, or me? I'm not scared of too far.
It's good to go as far as we can, because I think it opens up all the doors to think about these concepts. I think, hydrogen atoms form stars. Stars form the elements of the periodic table. And those elements form planets, which in turn form minerals abundantly. And the minerals they make up what what led to life on the Earth itself. So this message is from deep space. This is truly coming from the outer reaches of that. And I don't like to think of it as being like this final frontier in a way. And I also, too, I think there's something, I think about the poles themselves, that they are the ones sending out a lot of this information from the center of the Earth. So if you think about a projection effect or a reflection effect on what people talk about with the firmament, in a biblical sense even, I mean, within it almost fits any diatribe of concept. If it is from within the Earth, in a hollow Earth Agartha system, it is bouncing off of something else, like the shell, in a way. Or if it is coming from deep space, it is also reflecting off of the atmosphere of the Earth and interacting with all the minerals here on the Earth. It's interlinked, and I think that when we encounter just life in general, we're native with what we consider alien and godlike and good and evil and all those things are right actually up close and personal with us all the time. And especially now, I think we're actually maybe having a more concentrated feeling of it because we are creating entities all the time through our technologies. We consider them to be artificial life, but they can only be made from the exact same materials that we are in a way made from, but there's this strange, we're using them as vessels to carry all this information. And if that was the intention all along, I mean, it is a great mind concept of information exchange between one species, the human species. But of course, if you think about the way that life expresses itself through all the other creatures we share this existence with and how they would express themselves, that they may occasionally intermingle and cross paths. So I think that we would likely come in contact with some type of other intelligent minds. Like, for example, the way that the other mammalians, say, for example, the great whales of the ocean, in their sleep state, they stand perfectly up, they hold perfectly upright in the water. Like, they look like a giant tomb, if you think about the whales. They look like a giant stone monolith just floating in the ocean, upright, completely horizontal. Or I'm sorry, they're just like these huge, it's insane. Vertical. Anyway, it's incredible to think that in their sleep state, that, or however you would put it across the planet, but in their sleep state, if their great brain is the most magnetic thing of their bodies, and they are as intelligent, say, as a 16-year-old teenager, human being, they are most likely interacting with the magnetic minefield of the sleep state of the human minefield as well, if that is a place called to and referred to as the noosphere. This concept of the noosphere thing that, it's kind of stretching, but the idea that there is a realm that Carl Jung talked about where the subconscious mind and the sleeping mind may be interacting in some way, and it's creating its own sort of field that the conscious mind is connecting and relating to. I don't know if we're relating with other species, is what I'm trying to say. Just that, and then their technology too is infringing upon our own, and they have mastery over things like lithium metals and other minerals of the earth that we are only now becoming familiar with and using for our own technology to transfer information. And if many of these occasions people have these interactions with these UFOs and aliens, it's a mental projection that, as we know, is just as real as the real thing. And I don't think there's anyone who can say that they haven't had a dream where they felt like if they cut their hand, it felt like they cut their hand. And if they died, they thought they died. Or if they kissed, they thought they did. I think it's a very fine line about what is reality and how we are interacting with that on the motherboard of what Earth itself is doing and the species that have come out of this, reality we're living in, and whether it begins or ends or how that is, we don't know.
Which the don't know is like I always say, fine by me. I think mystery's good. I think exploration is good. I think I don't know, maybe a novel thought now and then, once or twice in a lifetime, might be good.
My gosh, we try, but who knows?
Do our best. Maybe not, but it's okay. Like it doesn't quite matter to me, because sort of quantifying that is, measuring yourself up to like the basis of the entire like humanity. Like that's not fair. It's not a fair fight. Our ancestors were very smart, and they knew a lot of things. That's for sure.
I think so. I think they probably did. Yep.
Indeed. As you know, we're out of time. We're at the top of the hour. Appreciate it very much, and thanks for popping in. Thanks for slaying it per usual. Thanks for the call. You know the drill. Please give Jen a follow. She has a radio show, a podcast, a YouTube channel, all the stuff you would expect to find. And I want to say this too. So regarding the radio shows, I haven't done a proper list because I'm a knucklehead, but if you go to troubledminds.org and click Listen Live, you'll see the list of radio shows. We've got a few on there, and not just Troubled Minds, Temple of the Owl. We got Salcedo Paranormal, Paranormal and Proud, Exiled Minds, The Arcane Observer, which is Jen. We've got also the African Spirit Reintegrated and Reimagined. Check that out. Every minute you listen to the actual radio station does help. Please give Jen a follow. Also, troubledminds.org/friends. It says follow Jennifer here. Her show's called The Arcane Observer. Talking about these things, conceptualizing ideas. Like I said, do I flatter myself to think that there's some sort of, cosmic, utterance, or let's say beyond that, no, we're ants, right? We're sort of ants in the cosmic concept. But I think thinking big. Let's say this: I'm not so sure that thinking big has ever been the problem with the world. I think one of the major problems with the world is probably thinking small. And that's why we flip it and do it and go the upside down and the reverse and all the rest of this stuff. Yeah, amazing calls from everybody. Don't forget, I got the link right here. Going to drop it in the thing. Please follow Jen there. Again, the Arcane Observer. It says follow Jennifer. Links in the thing, and please. Like I said, this is not about me. This is about us. This is about conversations and ideas and all the rest. So please give these amazing people a follow, and there's links right there. That's the reason I did it this way, so you could find everybody all in one spot, and please go follow all of them, because they make these conversations rich and worth having, literally worth having. And that's that. I'm tired. I was up at like 6 this morning. I was up at 6 in the morning making YouTube videos, if you can believe that, which is super funny. I couldn't sleep. I just popped open Monday morning. I was like, oh God. But what that means is that it's 10 p.m. and I was up at 6 a.m. and do the math. I'm tired. I'm gonna go eat. I'm gonna go to bed. You guys are amazing. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for taking this journey with me. Thanks for caring and being conscientious and not antagonistic. Like I said, look, I work so hard that and I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just saying that I just don't have time and energy to be antagonistic and I kind of made that flippant comment earlier, and I apologize for that. It wasn't nice, but it was just like, come on now, think about it. We only have so much time that we're given. Back to the Gandalf bit, right? We only have to choose what to do with the time that we're given. And if we're gonna argue and fight and cause negative energy with people, that's you see how nasty things can get, how quickly, and people tell each other to die on the internet and stuff. I mean, it's just so wrong. It's beyond wrong to me. In any case, this is the deal. What's up? I see you, Rosabee. I see you, Jamlo. What's up? Yeah, we're just finishing up. Just finishing up. Like I said, it's been a long day for me, so I'm gonna rest well and sleep well, and hope you guys do also. These ideas are simply that. But ideas are sublime in some sense. So you choose which is which. I'm not saying any of this is truth, but I am saying that ideas and looking forward instead of looking backward is important. If you want to help Troubled Minds, help our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. Links in the chat. Please go follow all those amazing people. If you want to help Troubled Minds directly, you know what to do. Just go to the thing. The links are in the description. In this order, sub up on Rockfin, or you can tip over there. Rumble works as well. Troubledfans.com. You can get the merch, the hats, the shirts, the Maybe Juice mugs, all the rest of that stuff. And let's see, what else? There's Buy Me a Coffee, there's Patreon, there's that type of stuff if you want to spend some money. Like I said, do Twitch last because they take 45% and that sucks. Sorry, Twitch, you don't want me to say it, don't do it. Also, if you don't want to spend money or don't have money to spend, look, this is not about extorting you for your last dime or something like that. It's spread the word. You can help the show by just letting people know there's a conversation happening out there that's not like you think. It's not, you're not going to show up, and I'm not going to scream at you and hang up on you and lecture you after there's a lot of radio shows that do that type of stuff because people love conflict. Look at the Jerry Springer bit, right? Like, well, who's the father type of business. Everybody loves drama. You know what? Let's normalize not loving drama. How about that? Just spread the word. Drop these shows on, of course, what are they going to be? Twitter or Reddit or any rest of that stuff. And just let people know the conversation's happening where we're not going to talk about who to vote for or who you should hate. If you want help in the final way, the easiest way, the best way is to listen to the podcast feed. It's got limited commercial interruption. You can find it, of course, on Spotify, iTunes, or Good Pods, wherever you get your podcasts. It's completely free. There's over 5 years of Troubled Minds, over 700 episodes. Can you believe that? 700 episodes. Look, if you were here tonight, even for part of this, and you're like, dude, this guy's out there. Think about what 5 years of this is. So we started kind of normie-ish and kind of like rolled and got weirder and weirder. But because I think the conceptual ideas are what make the most sense and are the most important. Just to stretch our imaginations, and who knows what happens. All right, so we're going to get out here. What's up? Cash me outside. How about that? I'll catch you outside, Todd. I'll be out in 3 minutes. I'll see you there, buddy. OG Todd, he's my boy. Anyway, so here's the thing. I think I covered all of it. It goes exactly like this as we finish. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing, with another idea. And sometimes if I take my foot off the gas, you know why, because it's a lot. So thanks for being part of this. Thanks for all the help, and thanks for all the amazing ideas. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bing.